Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Gavel Gang Podcast, an insight into the collections we get here at Ewbank's auction house in Surrey. Today, I'm actually with Andrew Ewbank, head of Ewbank's first time on the podcast.
Hello.
Welcome.
Well, thank you very much for talking to me. I think you've stuck with me today because I think everyone's just busy cataloguing. We're on deadline for so many sales at the moment.
Yes. Yeah, lots of exciting sales, which is mostly what we're going to talk about.
Did you get
today.
your white gloves?
I did, thank you.
Right,
I got
you mentioned it, so there you go, you've got those gloves now.
When we were last on a road trip, James and I in the van, we were talking about how we'd had white glove sales.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, what's a white glove?
So white glove sale is sort of old-fashioned now maybe, but it's something that you give to someone who, at the end of a sale, either the auctioneer or whoever's responsible for it, for 100% sold. Everything sold in the sale, and you had your records going back...
Summer 2023 or was it 2022? I can't remember.
We've had a few, and James, then you had a computer game sale.
Yeah, it was the first sale of the year as well. So.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
I felt bad, so I bought you some. Yeah, well, I thought we'd maybe have a chat about some of the stuff that's coming up whilst everyone's feverishly cataloguing away.
There's a lot of good stuff coming up. Well, I don't know where's the best place to start, but laid out before me on the glass table here are some wonderful pictures, and looking at them, I'm going to say they're from a James Bond film.
Yeah, these are from Goldfinger, and they are photographs. We haven't got the negatives, but these are photographs that were given to a lady pictured here in one of these photos, and she was serving military, and she was stationed at RAF Northolt, which is where they did some of the filming for Goldfinger. And so these are fresh to market, never seen any of these before, and they are on set. Quite candid photos. You've got Honor Blackman there, and she's signed hers. You've also got Howard Carter and Sean Connery, and that's signed on the back by both of them as well.
Yeah, that's great.
So they're really cool.
They're lovely sort of, well, they look somewhere between sort of candid shots and almost production stills.
Yeah.
Crew there, guy with a megaphone, probably the director.
I think these would do quite well. I mean, they're estimated. They came from the lady who's still with us, who featured in these photos, and I was corresponding with her and her daughter, and she's provided a letter of provenance with these as well, and they're in at 500 to 800, and I think that should easily make that, because they're really interesting.
So the little 6x4, I think, black and white, with a border, always looks nice for that era.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's the lady right there, so we'll show you a picture of that.
Don't sell these with copyright with things like this, because that she wasn't the photographer herself, but these are collector's items in their own right, and they look great. But that's one of many lots we've got in the James Bond sale, which is really shaping up nicely. That is on the 6th of June, I want to say.
Yeah.
Maybe the 7th.
And that's different owners, isn't it? It's not not a single owner sale this time.
Not a single owner sale. There's some more of Steve Oxenrider's in there. We've got some posters. We've got kind of those paper collectibles. But we've also got toys, models, replicas, all sorts in the Bond sale, and that's coming together nicely, and that should be ready next week. But before that, we've got memorabilia, which is on the 30th of May, and I know you've been.
I've been busy cataloguing a lot of stuff. So what have we done? There's some nice records in this time. I know there's Please Please Me. So somebody brought it in, consigned it, and usually when you pull the record from the Please Please Me sleeve, the first Beatles album, you expect that yellow and black Parlophone label, which is what nearly all of them were. Yeah. If you're lucky, you'll get one with a black and gold earlier label. So it's just this crossover when the older Parlophone label was changing, and some of that first Beatles album were on it. And it's mono. It's the stereo one that goes really high, but even so, the mono one is still well sought after. So
great. And
that's in good condition as well. Lots more Beatles stuff. Still going strong. Can't get enough.
Well, speaking of the Beatles,
yes, we're building up. I've been waiting for this for so long. The John Lennon that we believe is Stuart Sutcliffe painting of John Lennon that we know was in the house where John Lennon lived in Weybridge. Yeah. Kenwood on St George's Hill. Yeah. There's been a lot of interest, and some people from that time have come since we first started publicising it. Some people have come to us and really strengthened the provenance on it.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
And we're pretty confident, aren't we, now? I mean, it's so stylistically Sutcliffe. And with the people that have approached us, we have pretty strong confidence in our attribution.
We do, yeah.
And who knows where it will go. It's sure to generate interest, anything connected with Lennon like that.
I know, it's unique. And Beatles stuff seems to be a good time for it, because Disney have now done the original cut of the Let It Be film.
Right, yeah.
As opposed to that 9-hour 3-episode thing before, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
But this is what you could have seen in the cinema in 1970. Let It Be, the film. That's the first cleaned up version of that.
Yeah.
It's never been properly available.
Yeah.
It's never been a DVD. There's been sort of...
Listen, you had some really cool stuff in there as well. Didn't we have some video in there as well? And there was...
That remains a mystery, that one. So
Yeah.
we've got it in, and it could be a little bargain for someone.
Mm-hmm.
So on a VHS tape
Yeah.
that was apparently transferred from a 16mm film
Mhm.
are... Is it 3 songs of Sgt. Pepper,
Yeah.
Lovely Rita, She's Leaving Home, and A Day in the Life. And they're essentially promo videos,
Yeah.
very simple, quaint ones from the time, mainly featuring a young woman who ended up being one of Ingmar Bergman's main editors.
Right.
And we don't know why they were made. We can't find out why.
Yeah.
But it's got the proper Beatles tracks on it.
Yeah.
And it's, sort of essentially these simple promo videos, very sweet, in Sweden.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we've got to be a bit careful with copyright, but do we have a version online somewhere we could link maybe to?
yeah, we have.
Silent version?
Yep. I put it on YouTube, had to put it on silent, so it didn't get taken down. But you get the idea from that.
Yeah.
Just imagine the songs over it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love that. So one of those curiosities.
Yeah.
Don't know if we'll ever find out why they were done.
Yeah.
Looked and unturned, every stone.
Yeah.
Wrote to everyone because the lady's still alive, the guy in it's still alive, the director's still alive, Claes Fellbaum, Swedish guy, but quite hard to get through to these people.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I thought that's fun.
That's a bit of fun. And we've also got, a reasonably sized horror collection coming up in that same sale. And that's our memorabilia sale on 30th of May. And we've got original poster artworks there. One from Tom Chantrell from the 1967 film Frankenstein Created Woman. And that is the original artwork that was used as the basis for the British quad.
Yeah.
By Chantrell.
And the quad, I believe, because I've actually been reading up on it a bit, I was gifted a Hammer book about Hammer films. I love Hammer films.
Yeah.
So I think when that quad came out, it had a certain amount of, should we call it censorship or adjustment to hide a certain part of the anatomy.
Yeah.
So, but this picture,
our version
is
uncensored. It was kind of how it was intended by the artist Chantrell at the time. He's probably the biggest name as a poster artist out there, really, and was working, right through during the Second World War. He's working on propaganda posters, and then he became kind of a poster artist for so many films and a lot of the Hammer films as well. But we've also got Bill Wiggins, who did the last Frankenstein Hammer film, which was The Monster from Hell. So Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, 1974. We've got his original artwork again. That was used for the British quad and also for the double bill poster. So that one's in at 2 to 3. We've got the Chantrell in at 3 to 5,000. Who knows where they'll end up, those. There's another as well that we've attributed to Chantrell.
Yeah. Talking of original artworks that went on into print later, there's also Arnaldo Putsu on board. And I took one look at them and thought they look very familiar to me. Now, I was born in the 70s and grew up reading Look-In magazine.
Right.
And certainly, I can't remember if I ever bought it, but it was certainly advertised a lot. It was a big magazine.
Okay.
I think it was known as the Junior TV Times, technically.
Yeah.
And they had very distinctive painted covers after a certain time. And Arnaldo Putso, an Italian artist, did many of those. And we've got lots of the originals of those.
Oh, wow.
Of course, it's without the text, so you've just got a picture of Susie Quattro. But you can find online the corresponding magazine print with all
I haven't seen it. So they're like storyboards, or are they?
No, they are just on board, and they are the covers, which would have, I imagine, later had the text overlaid. So it's like Susie Quattro, David Cassidy, and then those sort of glam bands like The Sweet. And of course, Arnaldo Putso did unfortunately we haven't got it, the original Get Carter poster.
Yes, very iconic.
That, I don't know where the original artwork for that is, but I know it would be very expensive. Yeah. But these are fairly modestly estimated, these ones.
Great.
That'd be lovely for someone.
Great.
Mostly sort of in the 80 to 120
That's brilliant.
range.
I mean, obviously, I have a bit of an overview of different departments and what we've got coming up, and just thought I'd maybe touch on a couple of those really briefly. So we put in a men's fashion sale, so our first ever men's fashion sale.
Oh, is this the punk?
I don't feel qualified to talk about it particularly, just as I am. So thankfully, this is audio.
Are these the punk?
So we got some punk things. I think from Malcolm McLaren's.
There were several shops, weren't there? Seditionaries, I believe, was one. I think it was Sex was one, and something else. But the Vivian Westwood Malcolm McLaren shops, where a lot of those pieces, Ellie would know best, but I'm sure they were one-offs.
Yeah.
Most of them don't exist anymore, so that's
They're a bit
quite
un-PC,
exciting.
maybe.
Some
for
of them are a
people's
little bit
taste.
quite, even by today's standards, still
Yeah.
pretty raw, pretty
Yeah.
racy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but very
See how they go.
collectible.
Very collectible, and they're in the sale. And Eleanor will give us more information on that. And that is, I think, in early June.
The vendors bought them and have had them ever since.
Great.
So they're sort of,
Fantastic.
one careful owner.
That's great. And beyond that, we've got our fine sale coming up. So we've got a really big sale so we have these quarterly fine sales. We have jewellery and watches on the first day, silver and fine art, and then antiques and everything else. And we've got a huge collection of electric clocks from various
Oh, I
different...
haven't seen those.
Yeah, they're being sort of catalogued as we speak for that sale. And they are... you've got the master clocks, the slave clocks, a lot of them from factories. The guy was an engineer who lived relatively local to us, and he had a huge, meticulously stored collection of Meccano, even a lenticular Meccano piece that he built. He also had in his garden for a very long time a trolley bus that find all the information online about him. But Peter Lepine Smith, he also...
That's a great name.
Yeah, he was really keen on trapeze and circus, and he actually taught the Blue Peter people to do the trapeze.
This is one of the great things about a job like this. It's just those interesting people you meet.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not that I met him, but the artist for the look-in, this person.
Yeah.
I've been helping Denise, my colleague here, catalogue some items that originated from Peter Holmes, Property Master, who was on a lot of Jerry Anderson productions, from Thunderbirds right through things like Stingray to the far less popular The Secret Service, which I'm now watching at home on YouTube because the episodes are on there. Apparently it's a bit of a flop. It was so strange. But the joy of seeing props on screen in 1969 that you've catalogued that day. I saw a fake moose head. It's just like the size of a grapefruit or something small to scale. I was like, I catalogued that today, so there it is. And,
so these are all... It's Jerry Anderson production?
Yeah. Jerry Anderson stuff.
And with good provenance and all of that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's someone who's dealt with us before. I know we've had Jerry Anderson stuff before, props and whatnot. But
and right up till this week, and depending on when you listen to this, we have our Pokemon sale, and it's one of our bigger Pokemon sales we've had, and that's coming up tomorrow, which is the 16th of May. And we've got our first edition set, which Chris has been quite excited about in that department.
Great.
So that's base set, first edition, and it's PSA graded, the artwork cards. So there's 3 artwork cards there. They're graded. But it's a complete set, first edition set. I think it's in at 8,000 to 12,000. So we'll see how that.
And where's he just come back from the London card?
We were at the London card show at the weekend. James, you were there a lot longer than me, and that was great. We've been doing some work with the sub-centre, who are sort of referring people to sell their stuff that they've had graded.
Yes.
And vice versa, we're sort of sending people their way if they want to grade their cards, and just so many people grade these days in comics or in trading cards. It's just a really good way of protecting the product as much as anything else, but also the higher the grade, the more value it will hold. What else have we got coming up? I don't know, it feels like we're so busy. There's so many sales. I was looking at some jazz stuff that you had in from Beryl Bryden.
Beryl Bryden. I will confess it's not a name that was familiar to me. It's now I've poured over all of her photographs and notes and everything. It seems like she was a talented singer, British, from mainly sort of mid-20th century, but associated with a lot of very famous jazzers, like Louis Armstrong, seem to be friends with them.
Wow.
There's a couple of lovely Louis Armstrong signed pictures to her. Obviously knew her very well.
Am I right? She played the washboard.
Yeah, which I always thought was more for skiffle. I didn't know that got into the jazz world, but that was her thing. So she's got some lovely photos. Seemed like she was an artist and photographer herself as well. Right. And that her photos were used in jazz books and things. People like Sister Rosetta Tharpe. I think she was in the blues and jazz world. So, just a little treasure trove of...
That's really cool.
Snapshot of that world. With a couple of gems.
And that's the thing I love about these collections, when you get into a collection and you get to go through it, whether or not the value is sort of top end or not, it's fascinating going through these
right here is a calendar that's in that lot. Legendary Ladies of Jazz and Blues. birthday calendar by Beryl Bryden. So I think she actually drew all of these.
Oh, wow. Well, that's great.
Yeah, she did. She was a very talented artist.
Yeah, fantastic.
People like Dinah Washington, Sarah Vaughan.
Speaking of drawings, and I think Thomas will forgive me for not mentioning it, but Thomas Doomer has got in our comic auction, have you ever heard of Barry Windsor Smith?
I've heard the name, yeah.
So, a comic artist, and we've got an original sketch, at least one, maybe more, along with some prints, fantasy artworks, basically. So that's
probably why I've heard it. I've got friends, comic friends who are into the fantasy art. Yeah, okay.
So that's coming up in our comic auction, which is on the 29th of May. We have also got vintage posters. So Henry Coleman, we should mention.
Oh, new member of staff. He's great. Yeah. Working with him, it's a pleasure. He knows his stuff. It's brilliant.
So he's joined us. He's head of the vintage poster department now. And this is his first sale. We got a small sale on the 24th of May, but we've got some nice Star Wars stuff in there. There's some Star Wars video posters.
Some Hungarian ones that are very rare.
Yeah, and that's a great opportunity if you're into Star Wars and you maybe don't have the money for the pre-Oscars poster or whatever. You might get the Star Wars Hungarian, the Japanese version.
The Hungarian are pretty high.
Yeah.
They're crazy.
Right.
But there are some, there's some all across the spectrum, money-wise.
Yeah.
So,
he's got some nice other things. He's got the Lady Killers poster in there, and he's got one or two other St. Trinians, I think, is in there as well. So there's a nice collection of posters. But, we're getting lots of posters in to sell, and the market's really strong.
Yes, he's very passionate, very knowledgeable. Trying to learn from him. That's another nice thing about Job. It's learning from everyone else's. And
I think, James, you're going to do have a little chat with Henry at some point, I think, and talk about that. But he's super passionate about it and going to cinema from a really young age. And so
I had a picture of one of these Olnaldo Putsu ones in the storage room. I brought it over. There was nothing on there apart from the image. I was trying to find out who it was, what it was. He took one look at it and said, "Oh, the greatest."
Right.
That's the film. I saw a couple of nice posters in your office. University posters of advertising bands from the early 70s. What's the story with those?
Yeah, so we've got, it was from a collection. There was a book that was put together called, I think it's called The College That Rocked, which was about Lancaster Uni.
Right.
And in the purpose of putting this book together, there was a lady who provided some posters for the book, and they weren't all used in the end, but she worked at the university, and she's now entering these in for auction. And we've got the Velvet Underground, 1971.
Yeah, I saw that one. It's quite a psychedelic image that doesn't necessarily say Velvet Underground to you, but it's still a beautiful picture.
It's cool. I mean, I think it might be a bit more valuable if it had been a touch earlier, because this was at the time when Lou Reed had left the band, and you had the lead singer was Doug Yule, I think, at that point. But still, it's a Velvet Underground poster from the early 70s. There aren't many about.
I love those uni posters. So they would make them themselves for the forthcoming acts.
Yeah.
Even Surrey Uni, I've got some personal ones.
Yeah.
They would have the Ents, and they would put
That's
on
right.
That's like the Who.
Oh, there's really cool things on there. Yeah, £50 to get in, late buses back to Preston, and all this kind of stuff on there.
Why can't we have that now?
Really great. Rory Gallagher poster in there as well, and that's also Lancaster Uni, so they all are. And then there's a Rag Bull one, which is some lesser known bands, but hey, they're all contemporary, early 70s. They're really cool. You're not going to find another one of them easily.
Well, that's what I always think with these things. You could be holding the only one left.
Yeah.
Maybe they made a couple of dozen to post around the uni at the time, but lovely artifact.
You went to Harry Potter?
Do you know, I'm not. I saw the second film when it came out, and I've never read or seen anything since.
Talk about it. We've got a signed book here. So again, cast and crew provenance.
Oh wow!
This is the Goblet of Fire, and we've got a lot of the actors in there, including Daniel Radcliffe and others.
Well, that'd be very exciting.
That's coming up in our memorabilia sale as well. Back on the music, there was the Rolling Stones gig. We've got one of their cancelled tour date posters, which was for Cardiff Castle.
Oh, okay.
I think it's in at 300 to 500. There's a little bit of damage on it, but they're quite rare because that was a show that never went ahead.
Right. A bit like the Nirvana tickets we had.
That's it. We've got some more of them in.
More of those
maybe that's the different ones, or
I think it's the same gig.
So there's so much coming in. We've got also coming up in the same memorabilia sale, Girl on a Motorcycle, and
with Alan Dillon and Marianne Faithfull, I believe.
Yeah, it's a really iconic poster. We've got the poster, and that tends to sell sort of 1,500 plus on its own, but we've also got some annotated still here. Yeah, and this is in the artist's writing, and this was consigned by the artist's family. So really quite cool. Everyone loves this poster. I've been told it's not the best film, but
in a way, you get to a stage where it doesn't really matter if it's that good a film. It's just more about the pop impact of it.
There's so many. we're going to have some cracking sales. We've got a lot of them at the same time, which is probably why I'm talking to you and not Denise and other people who are flat out.
Yes, flat out right now.
And we're on deadline on Friday. So, yeah, we are super busy with the memorabilia and collectibles over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And then we're into the fine sale into June. Really, really great things coming up in these sales in the next few weeks. And that's before we even touch on the stuff that's in the pipeline. And,
I can't wait. I love it. When the catalogues go live, I sit and I look through everything.
Yeah, yeah. Did you get the R White's bin?
No, I didn't. No, it went pretty high, didn't it? It was good.
It did.
Yeah, I wonder where it lives now.
Yeah, well, that'll be your video that solved that.
Yeah.
But,
Right, well, can't wait to see all the catalogues go online. It's all starting to happen.
lots coming up. So sales up online this Friday, which is the 17th. And that'll be all the memorabilia sales will be up. And the next week we've got James Bond going up. And yeah, then we're into June, jewellery, watches. And just to anyone out there, just look through the boxes of stuff you've got. Contact an auctioneer. Just see what's there. You never know.
Yes, you can use the
What's the
online
worst that can happen?
portal on the Ewbank's website to make contact, send pictures.
Free valuations, no obligation to sell anything, and get a second opinion before you go down the charity shop.
And come along to an auction.
Yeah,
I
come
love
down.
when people come in person.
Come down. And that's something that I think a lot of people maybe who are new to auctions are a bit less familiar with the process. You're not accidentally going to buy something. It's
you scratch your nose, you're not going to have to cough up $2,000 on the way out.
That's right. Yeah, and it's great fun. You can set a limit if you're worried about what you're going to spend before you come down. There's nothing to be afraid of with the process. And look, this is a way to own one-off things, unique things that you just do not get elsewhere. And unlike some online sites, you've got the confidence that there's a established auctioneer. We've been around for 30 odd years.
Yeah.
People like us, we provide you with...
You can view it in person before.
You come and view it, make your own decisions, ask questions as well. And, people sometimes say to me, what should I collect? Collect what you love, because then you're going to be passionate and knowledgeable about it.
I can't wait to see who turns up for the Lennon. Will there be a car park full of Rolls Royces, old rockers coming in? You never know.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for talking to us, Andrew.
Nice to see you, John.
I'm going to go and keep cataloguing.
Sorry, and you were stuck with me today, but it was nice to have a chat with you, and I'll let you get on. And thank you both very much.
Cheers. See you next time.
Pop your gloves on.
Thank you for listening to the Gavel Gang Podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please subscribe and take a look at the Ewbank's website for more information on this and upcoming auctions. Until next time, going.